Good afternoon. This is Bill Gross, the LAProbate expert, and welcome to our Tuesday real estate investing zoom.com Zoom call. We get together every week on Tuesdays to talk about all things real estate investing. We get investors, wholesalers, bird doggers, want to get starting people, seasoned investors, vendors to learn how we can make more income and build our wealth through real estate investing. If you're coming in late and your name says user or iPhone, we're not going to let you in today. We were Zoom bombed last week just to make sure. We try to get people to register, and if you could change your name, I'm going to push out that person name remove. Kind of a fun. Oops, don't report. Just kind of a fun little toy game last week was we had a Zoom bomb, which I guess means we made it officially to the big time. So one of the things we do is there are brand new investors who want to get started and have basic questions. There are more experienced investors who are trying to build a business around finding properties to buy in either fix and flip or wholesale or invest as a buy and hold user. And we want to support both of them. And so along the way, I've met a colleague of mine, and he became a friend when we did an online call together. Who's really in the social media space, helping people build their business and their brand, which is important. If you want to acquire property, you need to let people who have property know where you are and how to find you. Ruben Kanya. So Ruben, welcome to our call.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you guys can hear me okay. I actually disconnected from my mic here. So do I sound okay, or do you guys want me to try to connect?
Great. You sound great.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Bill. Yeah.
And you look good. You're going to definitely get all the girls on the call. This is really good for the ratings here. So thank you so much. So give me a little background. How did you get into real estate?
Oh, man. It was definitely an experiment. I'm glad you said wholesaling, because I think that's like a stepping stone for everyone. But I got into real estate simply for the reason of becoming an owner in owning an asset. But with that, I think I jumped through a few hoops to get experience. So I've gone, what I did originally, Bill, for the rest of the group as well, is I got into wholesaling, but I didn't like it at all. And I think there was a little bit of friction there. And I said, you know what, part of my brand, as you can see on the wall, experiment, fail, learn, repeat. That's, the podcast you had me on is all about experimenting. I then got my license as a way to be a solution. As wholesaling, I think, the alternative is, hey, if you don't want to sell it at off market price, what does retail look like? So then that was the next step. And then after that, getting my license, it was, getting into, again, ownership again, multifamily. So I worked with a broker who was in multifamily. So I learned commercial. And then fast forward, again, always experimenting and, learning, again, surround myself with people who are ahead of me. And, the top producers, I've worked with them in Atlanta. I was working at Keller Williams First Atlanta at the time, did open houses, the whole 9 yards. I identified what I really liked, right? But originally it was to become an owner. And what I did, Bill, is I identified really quickly who I wanted to work with. And so I actually put it on Bigger Pockets. I said realtor for the investor, and that took off. People are like, hey, you're interested in that. And now I was learning on the side of investors, and I got a good lens of how they work and how they operate and how they evaluate deals. And fast forward, I got into real estate development. We did a fix and flips with some investors. I learned the game, and then I fell into short-term rentals. I didn't fall into it. I discovered it on a podcast, and I went into it. And now what we do, as I'm licensed with the XP, is I own real estate. I also have a little turnkey team where we help analyze, help buy, and then help manage your short-term rentals, or what people would know as Airbnb. So again, I love the ownership aspect of it. We also do a co-living model, and I do everything remotely. So I'm here in New York, and properties are booked in Atlanta. So that's probably my favorite part, the part about technology and how you can pretty much leverage everything from a distance. So that's more or less my journey. And to give a little bit of context, though, I do have a background in consulting, in IT and banking. So I don't know that I would say I'm a numbers guy, but part of my role would be, being a senior business analyst, in that as a consultant is just to ask really good questions. That's what I do on my show. That's what I do when I work with the best. And that's what I continuously do, even with guests, is, why are you coming here? What is your intent? Just asking really good questions, and you get really good answers.
So there's a lot to unpack there. Oh, wow. A lot to unpack there. Let's go back to the first part that I found intriguing. You posted that you were an investor-friendly realtor on the Bigger Pockets podcast. Sorry, there I got a special guest star today. Trying to drive the ratings up today. I got you and I got my grandson. Tell me about that. What prompted you? I find that fascinating because so many people think they have to do so much to declare themselves a specialist. Here, you're new in the business and you posted a Bigger podcast that you're a realtor for investors. What do you have to do to prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, so actually, let me actually be more clear and even be more relatable. Yeah. I didn't go on the Bigger Pockets podcast yet. I would love to be on it. What I did is I have a Bigger Pockets profile.
That's what I meant to say. But
and I think it's helpful because you can do this right now. And we talk about branding, and I love branding. That's one of my businesses is a branding agency. It's the thing with branding, Bill, is who do people think? And you and I talked about this, and I love it. Right? Probate. They think of you first. Who do people think of you first when it comes? How do you differentiate yourself from the market within the marketplace so that the lowest hanging fruit is, oh, it's Melissa. Sean does this, or Annabella, right? Like I know that these are my go-to people, and the only way to do that is to really differentiate yourself in the marketplace and give yourself a title. I didn't say I was an expert. I didn't say I knew it all, but I said that I was a realtor for the investor. And still today, if you ask me for my podcast, because I have a podcasting agency, we have over a team of over 15, and we produce, we repurpose content. That's what we do. That's my invested talent. I had someone ask me the other day, do you do it for anybody else? No, we do it strictly for real estate syndicators. And when you identify yourself in the marketplace as this is what I do and this is why I serve, people gravitate towards you because you're memorable in their mindset. So it was an insight. I don't know where I got the insight from in retrospect, but the reason I got that insight, I would say, is because I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to be an investor. Therefore, I'm like, well, why don't I work with investors? And that's where I followed. So almost like keeping the end in mind, right?
So Annabelle, if you're friend of the call, you need to connect up because she hosts a Zoom call for multifamily syndicators. And she and I are partners in a couple of deals together, and I'm looking to invest some more in that world, but she actually prospects that area and is doing a syndication. So hopefully she can connect with you. Or if you guys don't, come back and see me. We'll make that happen. Absolutely. So I find that fascinating because I would go to this phone call is the outgrowth. Pre-COVID, there was a meeting every Wednesday at noon at the Sizzler in Van Nuys. And a couple of people on this call used to go there, and I met there. And I think Paul Krause was one of them. I look online. And when COVID hit, we started doing this here. But when we go to the meetings, there'd be maybe 50 people and there are 4 other agents. And the agents inevitably would stand up and say, hi, I'm Joe. I specialize in first-time home buyers, home sellers, investors, condos, apartments, leases, bridges, nuclear reactors. And it's like, you can't remember what they do. No. But when a guy like you says,
I am a realtor to investors.
I'm sorry?
I've heard people say I specialize in everything.
Correct. Exactly. And I think that, you might specialize in being the quarterback of everything. Jack is a great attorney who I don't know what he does, but I call him and he kind of sorts out and refers maybe in the real estate space if there's a specialist needed, which is great. It's a great service to provide too. But my point is, it's not much more than just picking one that you enjoy and want to work in to be successful and look at the business you created. So today, what's your main jam? What's the main focus? Is the multifamily, are you in syndications? What's the main focus of your business?
I think that's a great question because I always have the end in mind. So my main focus right now in 2022 is building a short-term rental portfolio, which we are growing actively in Atlanta. So I strictly do short-term rentals, Airbnb. Now you might ask, Ruben, why is that? Well, I kind of found a little hack because I'm just saying, you'll find this fascinating. Actually, I think you guys will appreciate this, is the person who was my first buyer. So it was, when I got to Keller Williams, it was a coaching program. I went under someone and they helped me get this lead and I helped them buy their first home. We fostered a relationship that they came back to me just recently and they said, hey, Ruben, we want to get into an investment property. And I know you've been talking about the short-term rental stuff. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I actually said, oh, great. Well, of course. By the way, here's what I'm doing as well. If you wanted to get more insight on it, feel free. I can give you kind of an insight as to how, I buy short-term rentals and then how I operate, right? And so they said, we had the relationship, we had the trust, and they're like, oh, absolutely. Here's how it works. you'll help us buy one. We did. And then you'll run it for us, which my team does, right? And that's a 25-75 split. There's the trust factor. There's the relationship that you build there to then go on and tackle bigger deals. The other day, I was literally telling her, hey, have you heard of syndication? I'm kind of just literally planting the seed. Oh, yeah, well, by the way, this is how syndication works in apartments, right? You kind of pull your money together, you buy bigger deals. By the way, we're going to do that. I'm just letting you know right now. I was like, oh, she was laughing. But that's kind of the trajectory of like you use, you understand where the end goal is. And then you have you're very finite and strict into what you're doing right now. People can recognize you in the marketplace. And then that's part of the branding that you're talking about. And then you can take them to the next level. Or when you even decide to take on a new venture or going to multifamily apartments, you fostered the relationship. And you and I geeked out about this when we were on the air, where we talked about your network is that's the brand, that's your business card, right? That is what you need to do and foster these relationships. So right now, in short, I can tell you guys all that I know and about Airbnbs and short-term rentals and like why we do it, how to do it, how to get into it, etc. That's what I specialize in.
I find it fascinating for new people here, and so often they come in and they go on one podcast and they hear about Airbnb, go on another one, they hear about substitutes, they go on another one, BRRs, and you got to pick one really and learn it and create value for somebody. And you don't have to know everything, like you said, you just have to know more than they need most of the time in order to be successful. So it's just fascinating to me that the idea of branding as a new person in the business as well as experienced person in the business. So
I think, and if you don't mind, Bill, I'll add to that. Like, I think it's actually more important, even in the beginning, to niche down to get that, because I think the resistance that I find with clients when I'm on a call and consulting them, it's that, oh, but Ruben, I'm going to cut. I'm not going to be able to open, my business, and I'm going to close opportunities by saying that. Right. I just do that, when it's quite frankly the opposite. The referral business that we get from my agency, I've been in the Facebook marketing space. I've spent a lot of money on campaigns. We don't do any advertising. It's all referral business all the time, because you're just remembered as that go-to. And then you and I talked about as well that you can branch out into other areas. When people ask you about a certain thing, they'll come to you, and then you can either funnel them out into other referrals, or they come to you as a subject matter expert recognized in the space. So
yeah. The analogy I use is if your best friend, or your brother was a world-renowned brain surgeon, would you have asked him about his opinion? I don't want to get political here, but just to me it seemed obvious maybe a year ago. Would you ask him about COVID, what to do, what not to do, what to be vaccinated or not? If he's a renowned brain surgeon, he specializes in brain surgery, you assume he knows the basic medicine, right? And that's how it is in real estate. And it's true, because I do sell a lot of probate houses. I sell a lot of houses. So when people say, well, can you sell my house? Yeah, it's easy. That's easy for me to do. And I'll do a great job for you. And if we have a relationship and you trust me, then you're comfortable with that. So agents are afraid, like you said, they're going to cut off, but it's the opposite. It really opens up because you're going deep with people and learning in other areas. So the Airbnb was really an outgrowth of your relationship. It wasn't you were picking the best area. It wasn't you were doing the research. It was really it sounds like an opportunity that kind of came to you. Does that sound right?
The Airbnb?
Yeah, as opposed to other aspects of real estate you're involved with.
So what was it?
The short-term rentals. That opportunity kind of came to you. It wasn't that you picked it and researched it and found it to be the best, easiest way to make money, but it was more one that came to you as an outgrowth of your business.
Yeah, it came as more of a curiosity. So like I said, I had you on my podcast. I think we're 160 plus episodes in, and all I do is I sit and I invite people like you, and I get insights and I get to ask questions, right? And it kind of just dawned on me that, okay, well, look, you're kind of climbing that ladder of becoming an owner, and you're buy one property and then you buy another and maybe you refinance and etc. Well, I'm always looking at, what is the most effective and efficient tool I could use. And I think there's a lot of different models out there, just to be very clear. And so we believe in owning and then leveraging the short-term rentals model as a cash flow play to then continue to buy more. And so it's an opportunity that I asked about. I had a few, if you guys, I guess I'll plug it away. My podcast is called the Real Estate Experiment Podcast. There's about a dozen episodes specifically on short-term rentals, and then it just clicked, right? Specifically, I think it was episode 92 when Michael Sjogren came on. He's an expert. He's doing very well for himself. He's bought a boutique hotel now. He's I mean, he's really scaled the whole thing, had retired his wife and retired his mother doing this model. That's when it got my attention. And then it was a kind of a easy way for me to fall into it, being that I'm also a licensed realtor and I had access to the data, which I would love to talk about because it's all in the data and the numbers.
I put in the link in the chat box, the podcast link, and yeah, it was fun. He interviewed me, and we had a good time, and you do a great job at that. Look, I think it's like anything else. It's not magic. You do it enough, you figure out how to get good at it. How often do you do your podcast?
Once every week. So actually, rescheduled. Just so you know, I had a double booking. I had a podcast tonight, and I made sure that I got moved just for this group. So yeah, I've been doing it consistently. I think consistency is the name of the game. I think it's one thing that keeps me honest, where I got to show up every week and learn. And I have to do research before. So then I have to be open-minded to, a person's mindset and what they've been able to go through. And I always get an insight and I always get an introduction, and you look at this. So that's a very powerful tool, by the way. And just to put it out there, one of my biggest, I think this is important when I always talk about podcasting, because I think it's such a great free masterclass that you can utilize, and such a great brand, because people are like, oh, you have a podcast, that's amazing. We've gotten sponsorships, etc., and they don't ever ask how many downloads. You're in a position to really position yourself. If you want to position yourself, that's another way to do it. But I want to be very clear on this. I think this is important. I had this limiting belief because originally when I started my podcast, it was just myself, and I was kind of reflecting on my journey. You can literally go back and listen to it. You'll see that, when I failed my license test and all these, these hurdles I had to overcome. But one of the hurdles I had to overcome was when I was putting on myself, where I was like, I wanted to, start interviewing people, but I was like, I didn't even own property at the time. And I said, who am I to interview people, investors who have tons of properties when I don't even own one? That's such a limiting belief that we do all the time in so many things where we put hurdles. So I do what I always do. And I always, I take action, and then I figure it out later. And I messaged this guy who I remember had 300 million assets under management. And I said, I'd love to have you on my show. I didn't have a show. And he said, all right, awesome. Here's my, send me a calendar booking for time. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I really got to I kid you not. And still to this day, I don't think he knows that. But that's my point. Only you're putting, and I think that's such a small point, but I think it's so important, because I think we do that. We self-sabotage in so many areas. Like, oh, I can't get this listing. Like, who am I? I've never had $1 million listing before, or I don't know anything. Your job is to be resourceful and figure out the next step. That's our job. So I want to highlight that. I think that's important.
Well, and the other thing about that is, anybody who's successful wants to help other people. It's how they got to be successful. So the person you're calling that you're afraid to call because you don't own property is somebody like me who's putting on a podcast every week to help people who don't own property to buy property. So it's exact opposite. Not only are they willing to help you, but they're looking for you to help. And here you're calling saying, hey, I have my own show and I'd love to interview you. That's fantastic. A great example. We got a couple questions I've been ignoring. Justin Tucker, you have a question for Ruben?
Yeah, hi. I was inquiring. You're out in Georgia, is that right?
That's right.
Are you working with any clients that would be interested in some vacation rentals, short-term rentals for maybe a month or two out in California at all?
Not at the moment, but I have a network. So I guess when you're saying that you're looking, that you own and you're looking to fill in vacancies, just so I have some context.
Well, I'm looking to. I've got a website that I'm working on, and I'm trying to gather some listings to put on there to market to the general public.
Okay.
So if you have any listings at all that are short term, the website is generally focused on short term rentals, and it sounds like that's the market you're in. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in the Georgia, I guess, market, or the Atlanta market. So I believe you said California, right?
He's in
Right,
the
but
desert,
it's
Palm Springs, where there's a very active Airbnb type market. So both of you guys should connect. You're both XP. Go into workplace and connect. You guys should
Yeah.
know each other.
Yeah,
and you might
I
have
sent you
referrals.
some information through Workplace.
Great. Thanks,
Ruben.
Justin.
Awesome.
Yeah, the power of EXP. I got to tell you, the reason why I joined, I specialize in probate, and occasionally I turn you have a referral in another state. I worked at Century 21. I worked at Keller Williams. We talked about being national, but this collaboration is real. We have the real tools to collaborate in a way it's different. So you guys should get together and just share. I don't know, who knows what happens out of it, but give it a shot. Andrew, your hand's up. How can we help you?
Hi. I'm not sure if, this goes to Los Angeles area, California area, but I'm actually a certified drone operator. And if there's real estate property that needs aerial photography, I'd be happy to give you guys some excellent shots. I do 4K.
Great.
And if there's any property in the LA area, I'm not sure if there's anybody on.
Great. Andrew, feel free to send me a link with the info on it. And anybody who's looking for, we also have Sean Barrett's another photographer I've used. And the truth is, everything he's shot for me sold too. So we have some good vendors on this call. My goal is to create a kind of vendor relationship. So, Andrew, come on the call regularly. Send me a link. Maybe we'll put you on, give you a chance to advertise. And I know Sean put in his chat box as well his information. So feel free to do that and use it for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on that topic, I don't know if, want me to segue into this, but, when it comes to short-term rentals, that's one of the number one things you want to do is you want to have professional photography if we're talking about that topic. I mean, that's just for anything. I mean, I use the same photographers that I use for my listings for, for my short-term rentals, and that will set you apart completely because people are still taking pictures with phones. So if you're doing aerial shots, photography, that, it sounds like you're in a good place with this group.
Good. Thanks so much. Good. Other questions? Who has questions? You have a guy here who's just laid out his journey from zero to investor, doing short-term rentals, doing multifamily syndication, as well as a real estate professional. Let me ask you this, Ruben. Melissa has a question. Go ahead, Melissa. Melissa with a mask on.
So yes, so I just found, because I think what I'm hearing is that, we're wanting to lean a little bit more towards for the short-term rental. And why wouldn't you in LA when we still have a moratorium and other places and you can maximize the income? I'm going to put a designer that does the staging for vacation homes that anybody can reach out to as a resource. And I'm looking for a card. I have a property manager that does do those Airbnb rentals if you don't want to do that for yourself. So I'm looking for that right now. That way I can share the information and you can collaborate at your own, discretion.
Great. Melissa, always giving value to our call. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Hey, Bill, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, Ruben. I was calling and I was asking, have you ever done any Airbnb in Florida?
No, but I have I'm part of a mastermind where there's a lot of folks in there that do. But I mean, what is the question? I mean,
I was just curious because that's a market I'm really interested in. I spent 2 weeks in Florida last summer and scoped out the market and kind of like Tampa down to Sarasota. And I was just curious if you had any experience because I just felt like it's an outstanding location. But I'm not necessarily local. I just, I got to just visit the market. I have family that's bought there. They've been there for 5 years. So I was just curious if you had any experience.
Yeah, so I have partners out there. So I actually just referred business out there. And I can tell you, because we get on these masterminds, oh, wow, today's Tuesday. So that's going to be today. Very, very good market. So what I would do, Paul, is there's so I guess you said short-term rentals, right? That's what you're interested in?
Right.
So be very strategic in the pockets that you look into. And one of the best tools I would advise you to, get is, are you familiar with airdna.co?
What's it called? I'm sorry.
I'll type it in for you in here. airdna.co. This will give you great data from a zip code to zip code perspective. And I have national access. If we had the time, I'd do it over the hood or show you. But if you typed in the market, you can see the top properties, what they're going for per night, the occupancy rates, the rates per night, cleaning fee. I mean, the whole 9 yards, which is, if I want to geek out and get into it, that's what I always look at. I look at, okay, great. I'm looking at the specific area or the specific property even. I would say first identify a property. You can even put it into I'll find a link for you and I'll send it in here. On Bigger Pockets, they have like an Airbnb calculator. It's generated from airdna.co where you can put in the property name and see how much you would actually gross. And what I always look at as an owner is how much am I grossing more than the difference of what the mortgage is. And then I compare it to long-term rentals. And then I look at my numbers, and that's when I pull the trigger. So that's a very, very powerful tool I would highly recommend for you because it'll give you all the answers. The answers is in the data.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great resource.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing that.
Wow. What's that cost?
So you actually buy a zip code and national access. I have connections, so I don't even know what the price is. It's a little on the pricier side, but you can actually do, you can get a lot of data for free. But if you do want to buy a zip code, I don't know if it's $20 or whatever it is.
I'm looking
But
right now, actually, yeah, $20 with one market.
But I see this as a really great resource so that if you let's just say if you knew that a 3-bed, 2-bath was renting for, $3,000 a month in a particular zip code, and you kind of talked to some realtors in that location and they kind of confirmed, that's the going rate, then this would be a great place to go in and actually go buy that zip code. So you can, you've gone from kicking the tires to really now micro, studying that market because you've already confirmed some things already.
Absolutely.
So that's great.
And if you Bill, I don't know how much time we have, but if you want, like if someone has an address, I'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah.
Lincoln, you guys mind? Does anybody have an address that they want me to pull up, and I'll show you how to effectively look at? Maybe if we have some time towards the end, I don't want to monopolize whatever agenda you have, Bill, but I think it'll be powerful to see, even if you have long-term rentals, to see what could Airbnb do on this marketplace. Super powerful.
Let's show one of your properties. You got properties you want to rent up. Let's see one of yours, maybe.
Yeah. Do you want to allow me to share?
Yeah.
Can you do Brickell in Miami?
Yeah, we'll do it right now. Let's do it. So if Bill gives me access, I just need to. Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and just excuse me for a second. There you go. I got it pulled up for you guys. So what's the
It's Brickell.
Brickell?
Brickell.
Brickell.
Huh?
Yeah. What's the So that's interesting. So right here, I'm gonna put this to the side here, and I don't have my 2 screens, or it would have been prepared. But if you look here already, by the way, let me just show you the free version that I put into. If you guys go to biggerpockets.com, right? Because I think this will, right now I'm showing you, and you go to tools and you go to Airbnb. If you have a property, type it in here, right? Does anybody want me to name? Someone give me an address.
17404 Scudder. It's a listing I have. It's a piece of work, but SCUT Scudder, SCUTTER.
SCUTTER.
Scudder, SSC.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I misheard. SC.
404. I'm sorry, Scudder, SCUDDER.
Okay, you got it. You couldn't pick an easier name for me there, Bill?
Sorry. Court, CT.
Court.
There you go, Carson.
Here?
Yeah.
Cool. So, Bill, you come in here, you do this, you project it, right? This is actually tied to so how many bedrooms?
I think 42 is correct.
Awesome. I calculate the income. It shows you that you can grow 72,541. Now, mind you, I know this for a fact. These numbers are very accurate. Now, if I were to come and lift we'll go back to, was it Annabelle?
Yes.
So I want to give you some context is that you guys all have this free resource where you can go online and at least get like oh, wow, this is how much it could make. Now, if you get your zip code, I'm going to go ahead and go back to AirDNA. You can come in here, type in here. It gives you a market grade area. It gives you the average daily rate, and this is very important. When Paul, when I was saying Miami and market, 76% occupancy rate. Now, here's the thing that you need to know, just at a real high level, that Airbnbs or rentals are driven by the property. So you might be at a 76% occupancy rate, which is a great occupancy rate in that market. However, it's very property driven. So a super host might be booked 90% of the time, where the average might be booked 60% of the time. So you really, and so what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to not only see what the market is, but always anticipate the idea of, okay, well, how well can we finish? What do we need to finish like? This is maybe the boring part. Let me show you the fun part, where I'll be able to show you the top. But before we do, so let me go to the occupancy rate. I think I kind of covered that. 74. This is really strong. Now, if I go here.
But it's also really expensive. That's why I want to see, because I've been considering buying something in there, but it's, $800,000, $900,000 is the price of a condo with a $1,200 HOA.
Okay, how many bedrooms?
2 bedrooms.
So you're looking at, okay, so that's going to change things a little bit. So you go 2 bedrooms, that would
2
accommodate.
bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Okay, that would accommodate about.
You can get about 6 people in there.
6 people? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you would do that. That would, if you hovered around here, you would see that if you're in the top percentile in that area, you can be occupied 97%, 93, almost 100% of the time by being the best. If you're the 50th percentile, which means you don't do the work, you don't take professional photography, you don't get decent furniture, it's a game changer, right? Someone might tell you, oh, I own an Airbnb in that area, but I'm only booked half of the time. Well, yeah, and that reflects based on where you stand in the marketplace, right? So the goal is to always be in the top percentile, even 75, that's respectable. So at least that gives you right around average. Then you look at your rates, right? And this is where I say where you do the math, where you say, okay, if I'm 70% occupied, if this is the rate, where do I fall in the marketplace? So if you look at October 2021 here, you'll see that the top percentile are 920 a night, 75th percentile 497, and the average is 336, which tells me one thing, that it pays to be the best in this area. And what does the best do? You stand apart. What does that look like? I'll show you. If you go to top properties, you'll see what the top look like, right? They're making $500,000 in revenue. Now, this is a 6-bedroom, so I want to filter this, right? Because you said
Condo.
Right? So let's get some real comps. You guys know this, right? And if we do that and we say we can accommodate 6, let's look at like for like. Okay, great. This gives a little bit more context. So if you said, hey, Ruben, like, what should I finish like if I want to bring in about $250,000 in revenue? Well, this is a good idea of what you should finish like. And this is why this tool is so powerful, because it gives you a lot of data and it gives you insight as to, okay, great. They got great colors, great photography, pops, amenities. Obviously, you always have to have a pool in Miami. It's almost like a given. If people are going to travel, they're going to want to dip themselves in the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see how they finish, right? It's not. It's almost postmodern. It's clean, simple, but it's very clean, spacious. That gives you an idea of, okay, great. What can I get in this marketplace? I'll give you another one here. Again, you're looking at this range. Okay, if I'm in the top percentile, I can bring around 231. Is there anyone you want me to click in particular? This one, this one?
That's almost like mid-century.
What's that?
It reminds me of Palm Springs, the whole mid-century.
This is the same building, clearly. Might actually be the same host. You might ask yourself, Ruben, what do I charge for the cleaning fee? Well, no problem. Why don't we just see how much they're charging here? All right. Boom, 250. You'd be surprised. This was one of our biggest things. We're like, oh, come on, we can't charge that much. Yes. So I would, I just did a little quick overview because I don't know how much time we have, and I'm a geek when it comes to this stuff. I could geek out on this. But this is a great resource where you can kind of have a look at.
Well, what a great tool.
Yeah.
What a great tool. So one zip code, is that cost based on demand for that zip code, or is it a flat rate across the country?
Yeah, no, it just gives you access to data, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no competing here. This is just to get access. They're paying for data, right? They've been able to aggregate data for you, so they're giving you're paying for access. It's not like, you're not like doing Zillow and you're competing for a zip code. No, you're just
Got
getting
it.
access to the data to see what's going on. And so this, just so you guys know, I always look at this, right? And Annabelle, to your point, I always say, okay, is it worth it for me to have, or do short-term rentals truly bring a return in this, in this area? Like if I'm buying this for $1 million and my mortgage is, again, I don't know, what the numbers are out there, because I'm not licensed out there, but when I'm in Georgia, I have the benefit of being able to pull up the FMLS and pull up that area, and I know exactly what I'm looking at, right? A good hack is you can go to realtor.com if you want to do a quick little dirty projected of, what you're 20% down, etc. You see really quickly, okay, interesting, $1,700 for mortgage, PMI, all that stuff. And then if I do the math here, 227. What I do, if you want to do a quick, from experience, if you want to do a quick analysis, like a really quick one, you would just take this and you would multiply it by, so you say 227K, right? You would $227,000 and you would multiply it by 0.85. Why? Because cleaning fees typically cost you 15% of what you gross, right? Because I have to pay my cleaners. Those are our managers. That gives you a pretty good idea of, okay, where do you stand now? You have $192,000 left over. What's that overhead with the mortgage? You subtract that number, and that more or less average is what you'll be able to do. That's a quick way to get it. So again, that's gross revenue minus 15% minus my mortgage, and that's pretty much, okay, that's my take-home money. That's a very high-level calculation that you can use pretty quickly to be like, ooh, I think we're onto something here. This is a good deal.
Now you have your mortgage, property taxes.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. So, and that's why I said, like, if you go to realtor.com, so I think you had that property you just gave me. So we'll do it real quick. 1704 Scooter. Gosh, you couldn't give me an easier name. 1704 Scooter.
I think it was Scudder.
404.
Even better.
17404. There you go.
174, one more time.
17404.
04 Scudder. So what I would do, because these days it's just so easy to get this data, right? I would do, okay, let's do a quick high level. Right, obviously, Bill said it's a fixer upper. Let me just see my what I'd be dealing with here. Okay, interesting. So 3,173. Okay, great. All right, and because that factors in everything, and it's so easy these days. They have property tax, they have home insurance. You can, if you know your home insurance is higher, you just input the number. Let's say it's 250, right? This gives you at least a quick high level number. Okay, 3,260 a month. This says I'm going to grow 72,581. So if we do some quick math, we'll say 72,581, and I'll write this down here. Basically, $72,000. And then we said it's 3260. Okay, cool. 3260 times 12. Again, there's just a quick high level number. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 72,541 times 0.85. That's going to give me 61,659, and that's going to factor in all cleaning fees. And then I'm going to do minus 39,132, which was the 3260 times 12 that I did, and that gives me $22,000 in cash flow. So if I do that time divided by 12, that gives me about $1,800 a month in cash flow. So that gives you a good idea of, hey, should I do a short-term rental, or am I, is it better off? Like if, let's say, a long-term rental made you just about the same, you might say, it's not worth it for me to have an Airbnb operation, because quite frankly, I didn't factor in some of the restock fees, right? You'll have to throw that in there. Restocking, like, soap and stuff like that, that could cost you maybe like $1,000. So, factor that in. That's how I decide, do I go into a deal or not? If the margins are huge, which they can be, and as you can see in those other markets, that's how I decide, okay, this is worth it. And then in addition to that, also factor in, let's say regulations change, God forbid, let's say something happens, let's say COVID happens. Can I also have a long-term tenant lease? Yes, I factored that in as well, because the long-term rental rents can also cover my mortgage. Now I'm in a position to take action.
Fascinating. Wow.
That was
Wow.
but I just want to give you guys a quick, that's how I do my analysis.
Well, okay. So, and then what kind of a standard are you going to use? In that case, you're talking about almost a, 30% margin. No, more than that. You're talking about a margin of $22,000 a year, right, on a 650 purchase. So it's 4% return. I see. So you still have your management activities involved, and you got to put together a string of them. So, okay. Wow. It certainly makes that property doable for the right person who wants to build a portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, our margins are pretty crazy. I don't look at anything that's lower than a 25%. You're gonna yell if you're a 25% cash on cash. You can get those in short-term rentals.
So why would you buy every one you can at 20%? You can borrow money at 4% today. Why wouldn't you buy 1 million of them?
There you go.
I need to help you. I need to help you borrow some money then.
Yeah, well, that's why you're on the journey. You're catching me in the journey. When it makes sense, keep buying. Get the. It sounds like I have a hard money lender, or Bill Gross is going to be my next financing partner. But yeah, no, it makes sense, right?
Fantastic. Wow. I know. You know what's funny? I didn't think we were going to go down this particular track. You and I were chatting. I just had fun. And actually, my only criteria to have somebody on this call is I enjoy talking to them. That's it. I figure if I do and you listen in, you'll enjoy it, or not. You could always go and do something else. But I enjoy it. But I had no idea that you went this deep on the short-term rentals. Okay, so who's got a question for what appears to me to be an expert in short-term rental business? Who has a short-term rental property right now? Anybody on this call?
But I like this, and I'm definitely going to look into this. I think.
Well, for you, because you've been going down to Miami so much, you could even use your own to offset some of your costs, right?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Once a month, it seems like to me. I don't mean to break out any. You get any trouble? Jesse's there with his girlfriend.
I might be getting my real estate license in Miami as well.
Yeah, I'm working on my Florida license myself.
Yeah, that's when you have all the keys, right? Because when you can at the FMLS, you can look at AirDNA, right? You have all the information that you need to pull.
Yeah.
Well, and you make money on the purchase to save a little bit. And I also think as an active agent, if I'm buying a couple properties, it helps build my business in that market. So, you buy one, now you have neighbors who need to sell, and either you buy it from them or you get investors in on there. So to me, that's just a natural.
Yeah.
That is a fact that, Bill, to your point, it's and the thing is, mind you, my main bread and butter, I don't need to be a buyer agent or seller agent. It's something I've done in the past, and I foster relations. But if you are actually boots on the ground and you're helping people buy and you're helping people sell and you're helping people buy investment properties, this is when you say, hey, by the way, I own, and you can show them what I showed you. And this is how I analyze, I factor in the risk. I furnish. We have furnishing templates that I've give all my partners where they just follow that checklist. Here's what you need to have the home stand up. Here are all the links to the furniture. When you can have that as if you're a realtor and have that full turnkey where you're the proof of concept, it's just a no-brainer. You already have established trust.
My personal vision is to find a community, because Florida has a few more communities we have here, gated communities or high-rise buildings. Find a place to live in and get another one or two as a rental, and then all of a sudden now I've brokered 3 deals. I become the expert in that building or that project to build a business for semi-retirement. So that's kind of my personal plan. Okay, who's got a question? Anybody else have any questions for Ruben? I have one question that's standing out to me. Experiment fail. Tell me about failing and then how you got up from that. Give me an example of a failure.
Gosh, fail all the time. It's part of the progression towards success. So if you don't fail, you're probably not trying hard enough. You're not trying to tackle new challenge obstacles. You're staying in the safe zone. I failed. We have an agency. Oh, failed with that client. Okay, there's a failed. That's a failure. Like we let them down. How do we fix this? Okay, let's fix it. Right? Or there's just so many, I think, micro elements to it that it's like it's common. I think failing means you're getting out there and you're trying to do something. And when you fail, you get data. I think there's a saying. It's like when you succeed, you party. When you fail, you ponder. It's you get a chance to reflect. Okay, what went wrong? What could I have done better? So I think if you fail, as much as it's not like rewarded, kind of like growing up to like fail. It's not like it's so important to like fail forward and then learn from it and then continue to just experiment. And I think you'll look back and you'll be like, wow, we've come a long way. And yeah, I'm a huge believer of that.
It's a mindset, right, for you. I've heard the saying, if you bat 300, you're in the Hall of Fame for Major League Baseball. If you miss only a few more than half your shots, you're a Hall of Famer in the NBA, right? Because nobody there is hitting 50% of their shots. So how do you keep your mindset on? What do you do daily, weekly? What do you listen to? What do you read? What do you do to keep your focus? Because you're upbeat, obviously, you have energy. You got to convince people to take action. What do you do to keep yourself on track?
A lot of personal development. Like I'm actively in coaching. So one, I think the podcast keeps me humble because I'm coming in and I have to listen. So podcasting is my networking tool. Coaching, I get coaching and I have mentors. And I know that sounds like very cliche. I'm very particular in my coaching, right? Like one of my coaches here, Dan Henry, he's a guy who I read his book. I love this stuff. Digital Millionaire Secrets has an agency. So I paid to be in this program, very high level. And then I told him about my services and he's like, hey, you should be a client of ours. Like getting proximity into someone's world that you want to be like. I think if you want to be commercial broker, go with a commercial broker. If you want to be a probate guy, go work with a probate guy. I think we talk about this on our podcast. So for me, I really look at it, be very strategic in who it is that you want to be like, identify what your end goal is, and then go in proximity of that person that's already accomplished what you want to accomplish, rub shoulders with them, be in their environment. And then I think you along the way, you kind of, you'll become and even surpass that person. So that's what I do. I think, not to have a long-winded answer, I'm just constantly listening to things, educating myself, paying for access. That's one thing I've learned. I'm paying for access now. If I can't get into the room, I'll pay to get in the room because I'm going to get level of information or I'm going to do an exchange. So of services or some kind of just offering value in so many ways. That's what keeps me going, I guess.
Very motivating. Thanks for sharing that. Joel, you have a question? I see your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Ruben. I love this. It's really, really powerful, and your energy is amazing, and really what you're bringing into the table extremely valuable. What about renting a house and then sublist it as an Airbnb? Did you have any experience, especially that we're in a very unique market that we're in right now, that people have struggled to actually buy houses?
Yeah.
Do you have any experience with that? Any take on that?
Yeah. So I don't do. I think what you may be talking about is rental arbitrage. Is that what you're talking about? Rental, just in context, that's like when you get like a corporate lease, maybe, and then you decide to put it on the market. Is that what you mean?
It's renting the house with the right to sublist the house and turn it into Airbnb.
Yeah. So would you? Yeah. So I haven't done that personally, but it was very similar to what rental arbitrage is, which I'm familiar with, but I haven't done. I do co-hosting and I own co-host. So in this market though, if you have, I think to your point, if you have that, green light that you're allowed to sublease and actually do that, absolutely. That's a really powerful way because you're still on the hook for paying your rent, but anything in excess to that is cash flow. And that's when I say corporate lease, for those of you who are not familiar, that's when you go to a building that has that you're saying, hey, I have a corporate, literally a corporation. You can have an LLC and say, hey, I do corporate leasing. Do you guys offer that? Sign a contract. You're on the hook for, let's say it's $1,000 a month rent or $2,000 a month rent. You go to AirDNA and you say, hey, how much can I get for this area? Wow, if it's $3,000 a month, and all I have to do is pay the $1,000, and I can get the spread. That's a very powerful model that you could use either from the sublease model or corporate lease model. The only thing you got to make sure is, again, that you have that green light from whoever building. Because the worst thing you want to do is have to cancel out the bookings that you have because you've been terminated, or they caught you because you don't get caught. Do it the right way. That's what I would say, and make sure that it's in the books. But yes, that's a very powerful model that people are really crushing it in, and it's actually an easier way to have a higher cash on cash return, because if you do that, you may need to either furnish the place by yourself, or it's already furnished, so there's really no money down. You're just setting up the listing, you're paying the rent that you need to pay, and you're getting the spread. So absolutely powerful.
And you need to furnish the house anyway. Even if you own the house, you're on the hook for the mortgage regardless if the property is rented or not. And your cash can actually stretch much longer, because if you're taking 10 or 20% down that you're putting on a property, and you, instead of getting one property, you can actually get 4 properties just from the cash on cash return. I mean, this is what crossed my mind. So thank you for your point.
Phenomenal opportunities exist in this market. Okay, so we're going to bring it to an end here. This is obviously some great stuff. So again, you can find experimentrealestate.com/podcast, as his podcast is. I put that in the link. I put it on the YouTube as well. If Ruben, if somebody was interested in investing with you, is that the best? How would they reach you if they wanted to talk about? You said go investing with you in the short-term rentals as a client, or your syndication efforts. How should somebody reach you through the podcast, or is there another way?
No, you can reach me. As a matter of fact, if you want to follow up with me on any questions that you have, just put in the subject line, just email me and put, is it Southern Cal meetup?
Sure, SoCal.
SoCal meetup. Yeah, just do that, and you can email me at ruben.kanya@exprealty.com. So that's ruben.kanya. I'll put it here at exprealty.com. Just so I'll know for this group, I'm not going to give you my other. It'll be exclusive for this group, so I know that who's coming in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Always good, and that's the magic of EXP. Just not to make a commercial of it, but I don't think there's too many other companies. We're not exchanging any money or referrals or anything, or sign up links or anything. It's just really we're in the same company. I'd love to see him prosper and grow, and he also supporting my business and helping me grow mine. So we're fellow shareholders, and an amazing opportunity. So if you're interested in more about EXP, feel free to reach out to me. But I'd love to talk to you about that as well. Ruben, thank you so much. Again, it was a lot of fun. Let's do this again. Are you going to the shareholders meeting in June? I just announced the dates in Orlando.
Well, I'm getting married in June, so there's gonna be I'm gonna be. I think my June is pretty much shot, and then my brother's. I got another.
That's shot. It's a big month for you.
Yeah.
That's shot. It's exciting. You're excited for it.
So I'm probably not gonna be attending anything. Okay. I'll be out in Europe and stuff like that. And so.
How fun. Well, good. Well, look, it was a pleasure. Hope to see you in real life at some point as well. Thank you for being on the call. For the rest of you, thank you for being on here and supporting. Every Thursday, 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, we do real estate investing, zoom.com. And then Thursdays, we have probateweekly.com at 4 o'clock. Thursdays, Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm Bill Gross. I'm on social media at Bill Gross EXP. If I can help in any way, reach out, call, text if I can help you, and make this your best day ever. Thank you so much, everybody.